to the Polycystic Life of BBs. I'm here talking to you today with an update from my last video. Don't know if you watched the last video or if you're new to this, welcome. I know I don't have many subscribers at all. I'm very new to this whole vlogging thing, but I thought it was so important to vlog and share my experience and share my story with PCOS, and I want other women to know that they're not alone. I know that there are a lot of vloggers that talk about their PCOS and their experience, and I'm pretty new to this, so I thought it would be nice to document my story from start to finish so you can kind of see what I've gone through, and if you're worried or scared, you can reach out to me. But in my last video, I kind of explained to you that I was scheduled for surgery for an operative hysteroscopy, which I will explain to you, and an operative and diagnostic laparoscopy. And it got postponed. It was supposed to be November 29th, as I said in the last video, but it got postponed because of a little hiccup with my EKG. It actually ended up being, or my ECG, my electrocardiogram, cardiograph. It ended up being completely normal though, but it came up borderline is what happened, and so my doctor is an OBGYN and was like, even though we think you're perfectly fine, we're sending you to our cardiologist. We don't want to take any chances, and we just want to verify that this is nothing more significant than what we're thinking it is. So I'm so thankful that he did that. They're an amazing office, and I'm so happy that they're just not all about the Benjamins, all about the money, and they were wanting to guarantee my safety first and foremost, which was absolutely amazing to me, and it made me feel good even though I was a little bit taken aback and worried because I didn't know what was going on with my heart. But after seeing the cardiologist, it was completely nothing. It's something that I was born with, and he cleared me, did an echocardiogram, which is where he did a full ultrasound of my heart, looked at all the heart structures. Everything was totally normal. He said, you're a healthy 30-year-old, go run a marathon, like, you're fine. So you can go have 10 more surgeries. You don't have to come for a follow-up either. You're normal. So I was like, whew, thank you, Jesus. So I'm good with that, and I was able to get my laparoscopy and hysteroscopy surgery scheduled again for the 11th, which was yesterday, and I had it, and I'm actually recovering great. I'm in good spirits now because I'm on a lot of strong pain meds, because girls, let me tell you, the after-surgery pain is no joke. Some of you may have had this. Some of you are thinking about having it. Some of you are just wanting to know my experience because you're going to have it. So I'm going to go over my experience with both. And so, again, if you did watch my last video, you will know that, again, I was supposed to have that surgery the 29th. And I talked to you a little bit about PCOS and what happened. So basically, I found this new doctor who's absolutely amazing, who performed my surgery yesterday. And he diagnosed me with PCOS right off the bat after years and years of them half diagnosing me with it. He diagnosed me right off the bat and told me that based off of my symptoms, he thought I might have endometriosis. I was having very heavy, painful periods, which were progressively getting worse. I went doctor to doctor to doctor and was in more pain than I could imagine. He diagnosed me with PCOS, said right off the bat, I think that you have endometriosis. I'm like 90% sure. And the uterine lining was very thick inside of my uterus. On the ultrasound. So he said, we definitely need to do a hysteroscopy. Hysteroscopy is where they take sterile fluid and go through the cervix into the uterus. They fill the uterus with sterile fluid, and they insert camera and like little robotic clips so they can remove and biopsy. So they did that to me in office. He found polyps, a uterus full of polyps, and I could not have them removed in the office. It was going to be way too painful. He removed one, and I was like, oh, God, this is horrible. Sorry, I have to get my heating pad. Oh, I'm in pain. So they ended up scheduling me for an operative hysteroscopy, which is where I would have gone in basically for a full DNC. And if you don't know what that is, you can look that up, or I can do another video in regards to that as well, just for you. But basically what that is called a dilation and curettage, and that is where they take the uterine lining and they basically cut it out, and they give you a fresh, new, thin uterine lining. Your next, period, as your periods come along, your cycles, it will re-thicken, and but it shouldn't thicken to the extent that it was unless you have a disorder like I do, which it's possible I could have to have polyps removed again, but we're hoping not. So on to surgery yesterday. Oh, and by the way, with that hysteroscopy, they did biopsies and they all came up negative for any type of cancer. So we decided to go in and remove all the polyps because they were causing me extreme pain. And of course, in very, very rare cases, polyps can turn into uterine cancer. My doctor's not taking any risks. So we just went ahead and opted for the operation. With that, again, he did tell me I'm like 95% sure you have the endometriosis. He said, you have to have the polyps removed. That's no choice. We have to remove those if we want to continue care. But for the laparoscopy, you have an option for that. He said, I'm highly, highly, highly suggesting it while you're already going to be under the general anesthesia, that we go ahead and do this. He said, because if not, I can almost guarantee you that pain is going to hit, and you're going to have to come in for more pain control, and you're going to end up having to have this done later on. And he said also, if you do have endometriosis, he said, you're 30, it's very important that we do check it out. Try to get anything that's there removed because it could possibly alter and affect your fertility. And if you want to have children, which I explained to him, oh yes, definitely, I do. He said it could really hinder you, so it's better that we get it and see what level it is, and that's what we opted to do. So we went ahead and went through with the surgery yesterday. And during so they did both procedures on me in the operating room yesterday. They did the operative hysteroscopy, diagnostic, and it ended up being a operative laparoscopy because I did end up having endometriosis. He was never sure I had endometriosis, like I said, but he was very, 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 convinced that I did. So they went in. He removed all of the endometriosis. He used state-of-the-art equipment on me. He used what they call the Da Vinci robotic system. And what that system is, it's a robotic system. And the doctor operates it from like a little console. And what happens is that camera magnifies everything to like 10 times what you would normally see in a regular laparoscopy. So he can get all of the endometriosis with more precision, without any additional tremors, because, we're human, we have tremors. And so it's much safer. It's more, efficient as far as for endometriosis patients. And if you have the option, I would highly suggest it. And also he did another technique on me called the firefly technique. And this is where he stuck like a radioactive type of iodine into my system. And what happens with that is it's kind of like if you've ever had a contrasted MRI or CT scan. Anything that is a vascular origin, it will light it up, it'll light up kind of with this fluorescent light. So they inject the radioactive dye. Anything vascular is basically highlighted, and then there's this greenish kind of fire, they call it the firefly light, and it illuminates everything, and you can get so much more endometriosis, plaques or whatever they're called, adhesions with that. And so that's the procedure that he did on me. So he said I had this is what he told my family. Obviously, I haven't seen him. My follow-up is next week. But he told my family the surgery went well. It went amazingly, actually. They removed pretty much all of the endometriosis. And they also checked my fallopian tubes to make sure that they were completely open and free-flowing, which they had a little, I don't know, he had to go in and kind of flush them out and clear something out of them. But they're completely open and free-flowing, and fortunately, that will not be a fertility issue for me in the future. He advised my family that if anything, it would be the PCOS, but that is so treatable. But as long as we can keep the endometriosis under control until it's time for me to have kids, my fallopian tubes are open, dye flowed through them, so I was so excited and happy to hear that because I was really worried. Also, in the laparoscopy, they were talking about doing an appendectomy, which is the removal of the appendix. Some people that have very extreme endometriosis can get lesions on the appendix, but in my case I had, he couldn't actually find my appendix, but he said there was no lesions or anything in the area where the appendix would be, so he wasn't worried and didn't want to dig too much more, especially because I've never had appendix issues. Also, they did ovarian drilling because, again, if you watched my last video, I do also have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. And what happens is your ovaries, I think they're like the size of little almonds. I think they're very tiny. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on the size of the ovary, though. But when you have PCOS, you obviously have enlarged ovaries because you have all of these follicles that normally would be ready to mature and create an egg. But in our case, some of us don't always create an egg and we don't ovulate. And so it leaves these follicles, which means your ovary becomes enlarged. What the ovarian drilling does is it pops the cysts, and they don't come back from this is a one-time procedure. Like, you don't get it multiple times. It's a one-time in a lifetime procedure. It gets rid of some of the cysts, and that activates ovulation. It activates less androgens and helps with the hormones that are being released. And I've heard really wonderful things about it. And he said it would help me again with the weight loss. He said some of the facial hair that I'm getting, and if you watched my last video, I kind of talked about how that's icky and I'm not too keen on it and I hate it. But I'm actually receiving a treatment down here called electrolysis, which I promised I'd do a video on, because for us PCOS girls, it is freaking a godsend. It is permanent hair removal. It doesn't burn. I don't want to get too much into it. I'll do a video on that. But he said that the ovarian drilling wouldn't really help too much with the facial hair, but it would help someone with the androgens and definitely with the ovulation. I've never been a PCOS girl that's ever had abnormal periods. For the most part, maybe earlier in life I did. But I've always had normal menstrual cycles, and actually it's not uncommon to do an ultrasound where I'm actually ovulating. So I don't know how much it's going to really help, but I do hope that it does help with the weight loss. And the doctor told my father and my mom and my boyfriend, my family that was there with me, that it probably would help with that and help me get the weight off and to keep it off, because I've kind of been a yo-yo. So that was that with the actual laparoscopy. So it turned from diagnostic laparoscopy to operative laparoscopy, which he highly suspected, and he was absolutely correct. Also with the hysteroscopy, which is where they go up through the uterus, into the uterus with the fluid, like I said, that was also very successful, and that's what's probably causing me the most pain aside from the gas they inject into you. I'll go into that in a second. But with the hysteroscopy, they went up through the uterus and they, filled it with that fluid, removed all the polyps, like I said, so that's cleaned and good to go. So I'm all cleaned out. They've cleaned me out. My tubes are clean. My uterus is clean. Everything's clean, and I'm so happy. I hope this helps with the pain. The most pain I'm having right now is, got a little hair on me, the pain from the DNC, from the removal of the polyps. That's pretty severe. I've been taking some strong pain meds. That's why I'm kind of out of it, but I'm trying to be upbeat for y'all. Also, the pain from the gas. When you have a laparoscopy, they go through your belly button. So I have 3 incisions. I have an incision in my belly button, or I have 4 incisions, excuse me. Incision in my belly button. I have incision... Where do I have an incision? I'll show you pictures. You can't see the one in my belly button, but I have 2 to the left of the belly button, 1 to the right of the belly button. And I will show that to you so you know what it's going to look like if you ever have to have the procedure. Even if you don't have the Da Vinci and have the whole state-of-the-art, whatever doctor you're going to is going to perform the laparoscopy, and I'm sure they'll do an amazing job, and you will have like the 3 little incisions at least. One of them in your belly button is to pump you up with CO2, the gas. That is the painful... Oh my, I'm going to tell you girls, it's painful, okay? Because what happens is it's not a gas that's like in your tummy where you can take like a gas X. This is just in the cavity, like in your cavity. So basically I'm getting, the gas has to naturally release over a matter of 2 to 3 days. And when you breathe, I don't know if you've ever had what they call pleurisy. If you haven't, it's like sharp pains in your lungs and in your shoulders and in your upper abdomen when you breathe, and it is just very, very uncomfortable and painful, and the strong pain meds that I'm taking will not help with that at all. The only thing that will help with that is walking and just to let it naturally dissipate. That is probably the worst. Now, if you have a regular, just a laparoscopy, and you do not need a hysteroscopy, you won't have both pains, so you won't be in as bad as shape as me. If you just have the laparoscopy, which is where they go into and actually to see your actual, like your uterus, your ovaries, everything that's in the abdomen, that is, you will feel those gas pains for the most part, but you won't have the cramping and the bleeding from them taking the uterine lining out. You may have a little bit of bleeding because they're still probably going to do the checking of your fallopian tubes, which is really huge and very important, but you won't have both pains, and you won't like feel like you're on your period and having breathing problems at the same time. So that's my story with that. I'm so just overjoyed that they were able to successfully, operate, and the doctor was so happy with the way it turned out, and my family was so happy. The hospital I went to, St. John's Regional Medical Center, was absolutely amazing. I had heard bad things about them. Where I live, there's one hospital that everybody thinks is just great, which I actually love this hospital, and it's around the corner from my house, and they have great reviews. They're a good hospital. But St. John's has good reviews as well. When you look at their reviews, though, a lot of people complain and call them the hospital of death because of their emergency room visits. And I realized the reason is because the area is a highly populated area. They're short of nurses, and people tend to get upset and when they have to wait and when they're in pain, and I get that. But for me, I went in for a scheduled surgery, so it was a lot different experience for me, and it was amazing. The nurses there were absolutely wonderful. The doctor, of course, I love my doctor, was just great and got along with my family and answered all of their, addressed all of their concerns and answered all of their questions. And the anesthesiologist, he was dry, but he was amazing. It just was really validation that this is what I want to do. I want to work with people. I want to be in the medical field. I want to be a nurse. I want to be able to give people that feeling that everything is going to be okay. And that is exactly what they did. I have a huge anxiety in regards to medical procedures and surgeries, or going to the doctor to get results. Granted, I'll go. My mom and my dad taught me, your health is important. You got to go to the doctor. You don't sit around and let something fester until it's too late. So I'll go. But I have a huge anxiety about it. And they just made me feel so at home, so wonderful. The nurses and I laughed after. They were laughing at me when I was coming out of anesthesia. I guess I was talking out of my ass, saying crazy things. But it was just amazing, you guys. I can't stress enough, girls. If you feel something is not right with your body, do not let anybody sit there and try to tell you that you're wrong. Don't let anybody make you feel your feelings and your symptoms are not valid. Okay? Rule number 1, any menstrual period, you should not be filling up a pad every hour. You should not be in an 8, a 9, or a 10 level of pain every single month where you have to call off. You should not be releasing dime-sized blood clots. You should not have to wear a tampon and a maxi pad at the same time. These are things that you should not have to do. And I will tell you right now, I've done that for a long time and gone to multiple doctors. Like I said in my last video, I even went to Keck and had appointments with the chair of the gynecology department at USC Keck Medical Center, which is supposed to be one of the best medical centers in Southern California. In California. At all. Not even Southern California. In California. It's like a Stanford, UCLA, Stanford, USC. They're some of the best. She still overlooked. Didn't know I had polyps. Didn't know I had anything. And I get, maybe I'm not a severe case of PCOS like some people. But you should have been able to do something, and she didn't. And this doctor I listened to my body. I continued to go to the doctor, and I found the doctor that did the testing and took the time to explain to me and knew what he was doing. And he wasn't so worried about, well, are you ready to have kids? Well, if not, I'll just put you on birth control. No. His approach was, do you want to have kids in the future? My answer was yes. Okay, well, this needs to be, looked into some more. This needs to be investigated some more then, because whatever you're dealing with could potentially pose an issue, and not only that, your quality of life. You don't realize how this pain is affecting your quality of life. And I'm just so thankful and so overjoyed with the experience. The pain is not fun. The cramping is not fun. But ladies, let me tell you, afterwards it will be better. And those of us that have endometriosis and PCOS, it's an unfortunate diagnosis. Some of us have further issues with that and will cause issues with fertility in the future. The doctor was very, very optimistic with me and said he didn't think I'd have any issues, and if I did, it would probably be directly related to the PCOS, like I said, which is highly treatable for us. The endometriosis can also pose issues, as we know, with the fallopian tubes and things. Had my tubes been completely clogged and me not have been able to have kids, that would be, it doesn't mean you can't have kids if your fallopian tubes are clogged. You can get the, if they're not completely clogged, you can get a procedure to open them. So rest assured, if you have PCOS or endometriosis, girls, know that if you have tubes that are clogged and you have a good doctor that can refer you out, you can have that fixed. So don't let me scare you. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just saying that I know some of us have different issues that come along with this, and it can be kind of daunting. But just do your research. That's what I can tell you, to do your research. Be medically literate. I know that they say Google is bad, and it is sometimes if you Google everything to think that you're dying, which I do quite often. But know your symptoms. Do the research. Research your doctors in depth. Look at their success rates with their surgeries. That's what I did for this doctor, and it was the right thing to do. It was a much better decision that I've ever made, and with my doctors in the past. And I want the best for you guys too. If you're dealing with this, or you have a family member that's dealing with this, or you think you might have this, and you have the ability to go to the doctor, and I understand with this climate and our government and everything, some of us unfortunately don't have the ability to go to the doctor or go to the specialists or whatever, but do what you can. Do your research and reach out to me if you need to. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, to go over the procedure with you, and to just be there as a support for you, a support system. And this is just the beginning of my journey. I was just diagnosed a few months ago, and then I was diagnosed with endometriosis yesterday, and had it removed yesterday, and had everything done yesterday. So talk to me. I'm going to go through this process with you. I'll tell you about the recovery. I have my appointment follow-up on the 19th, where the doctor is going to go over everything with me, even though he kind of told my family what was going on, and I know everything went well. He's going to go over that with me and show me some footage from the surgery, which is going to be fun. So if he gives me some pictures, I will definitely post those for you guys when I talk about my follow-up appointment. I'll be doing another video on that as well. But again, just know that you have support, and I'm here to support you if you need me. I'm even willing to reach out through email and speak with you and answer any questions. And again, this is the beginning of my journey. I want to keep you posted through now, follow up, and all the way until it's time to have kids. I will go through that process with you as well, and let you know if I have any issues and what I've done to rectify them, because I know I'm going to be fine when it comes to that. I'm speaking it into existence. I know I'm not going to have any issues when it comes to that, and I know that you are strong, and that if you have the PCOS, or you're dealing with it, or you think you're dealing with it, just be strong and know that it's going to be okay. And you're not alone. We're here with you. We can fight this together. And let's get the word out. Let's create more awareness. Let's tell more ladies, get to the doctor if you're not feeling right, if you're not having your periods, if you're in extreme pain, whatever that may be. Let's try to get your butt to the doctor and see what's going on. Let's not wait and let it fester. Okay? So again, and just remember this, ladies, my slogan, we did not choose the polycystic life. The polycystic life chose us. So it's not your fault, and you have no bit in that. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And again, if you didn't watch the last video about the diagnosis, go ahead and watch that. I'll shortly be uploading more videos in regards to PCO, to the hysteroscopy, and some of the other things that I mentioned in the video that I have written down here that I'm going to do videos on. And I will catch you after my follow-up and let you know how that goes, girls. And so I'm going to pause really quick and just do girls and guys, actually. If you're watching this for a wife or a family member, you're welcome to, okay? So I'm going to quickly pause this and show you a quick little video of my scars and my incisions, just so you kind of know what they look like. Okay, so just a quick pause and I'll show you that, and I hope you guys have a great day. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see this. I hope it's kind of clear. I'm trying to do this without being too revealing. Here are the two incisions to the left of the belly button. Unfortunately, my belly button's kind of fat, so you can't see the incision in there, but you can kind of see the blood that's coming out. And here's the one incision to the right. That one's kind of nasty. They're all glued with surgical tape. So the doctor said that will pretty much cause me to have really no scars at all, because there's no stitches if you kind of can see close. So this is what you have to look forward to, girls. It's way better than back in the day where they were just doing a whole, big cut laparotomy down the middle of us. So don't be scared. That's literally the extent of the excisions, okay? All right, girls. Have a good one.